Background and context. In early 2021, on January 6, hundreds of supporters of then-President Donald Trump violently stormed the U.S. Capitol building in Washington, D.C. The intention was to interfere with the formal certification of the 2020 presidential election results. The event resulted in deaths, injuries, and ongoing political and legal turmoil. In the aftermath, many major social media platforms including Facebook, Meta, Twitter, now known as X, and YouTube suspended or restricted Trump's accounts or the ability to post new content, citing concerns that his posts might incite further violence or exacerbate unrest. Trump and his legal team argued that these suspensions were wrongful and amounted to censorship, especially of a sitting or former president, and therefore filed lawsuits against these tech companies, claiming they had violated his free speech rights and unfairly suppressed conservative voices. Over time, some of these suits have been resolved via settlement rather than court verdicts. The recent news is that YouTube, owned by Alphabet Google, has agreed to a settlement in one of these lawsuits. Note: some earlier reports mistakenly claimed $36 million, but the actual reported settlement is $24.5 million. The settlement details. Here are the key terms and elements of the settlement between YouTube and Trump and associated plaintiffs. 1. Amount and allocation. YouTube agrees to pay $24.5 million in total to settle the lawsuit. Of that amount, $22 million will go to the Trust for the National Mall, a nonprofit that is helping fund the construction of a new White House ballroom that Trump has proposed. The remaining $2.5 million will be divided among other plaintiffs in the case, including the American Conservative Union and author Naomi Wolf. 2. No admission of wrongdoing or policy change. The settlement does not include any admission by YouTube or its parent company, Alphabet, that it acted wrongly. YouTube will not be required to change its policies, moderation practices, or product features under the terms of this deal. 3. Restoration of Trump's YouTube account. Trump's YouTube account was suspended from uploading new content in 2021 following the Capitol riot. His account was reinstated in 2023. Because the account is already active again, the settlement is more about resolving legal claims than restoring access. 4. Comparison with other settlements. Trump also filed similar lawsuits against Meta, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, X. Meta agreed in January 2025 to pay $25 million to settle its case, with $22 million directed to a fund to support Trump's presidential library. Twitter, now X, reportedly settled for $10 million. Thus, the YouTube settlement brings closure to the trio of major tech-targeted suits from Trump. 5. Timing and legal context. The settlement was revealed just ahead of a court hearing scheduled for October 2025 in U.S. District Court in Oakland, California. The case had been pending for over 4 years. Legal and constitutional issues. This settlement raises several interesting legal and constitutional issues worth exploring. Private platforms and free speech. The First Amendment in the U.S. protects against government censorship of speech. But private companies, like YouTube and social media platforms, are generally not bound by those same restrictions. They have the right to enforce their own terms of service and content moderation rules. Thus, Trump's legal foundation likely rested on arguments such as breach of contract, unjust enrichment, or claims that these platforms were acting as quasi-public forums, i.e. serving a public function, and thereby should uphold free speech more strictly. Courts have often been reluctant to treat large tech platforms as equivalent to government actors. Many earlier cases find that platforms have wide leeway to moderate content. The success of a lawsuit in this domain is uncertain. By settling, YouTube avoids a full trial that could set a legal precedent unfavorable to itself. Incentives to settle. For YouTube, Alphabet, settling is less risky. Litigation would be expensive, time-consuming, and carry reputational exposure. For Trump, the settlement offers a visible win, financial compensation and public acknowledgement without any trial uncertainties. The allocation to the White House ballroom gives some symbolic or tangible use of the money tied to his ongoing projects. Because the settlement includes no admission of liability, YouTube retains plausible deniability while resolving the claim. Political and strategic motives. The fact that the funds go to build a White House ballroom, a project heavily associated with Trump, suggests that the settlement is part legal resolution, part political maneuver. The settlement also signals a recalibration in the relationship between major tech firms and the Trump administration. Reports suggest that in recent years, companies in Silicon Valley have taken a more conciliatory approach toward the Republican Party, especially after Trump's 2024 re-election. The makeup of the settlement, i.e. large sums with minimal concessions, suggests that these tech companies prefer to quiet the disputes rather than engage in drawn-out legal battles involving questions of speech, moderation, and liability. Implications. Here are some possible broader implications of this settlement. 1. Precedent for other claims or platforms. Though settlements are not binding precedent, this outcome may encourage other figures or organizations to sue platforms for alleged suppression of speech, expecting they can extract monetary compensation even without winning a full case. 2. Softening moderation policies. The settlement and the previous ones with Meta and X may push platforms to adopt moderation policies that are less aggressive or more defensible to reduce the risk of similar lawsuits. Some companies have already signaled changes or restored previously banned accounts. 3. Public perception and trust. Some critics may see the settlement as a capitulation or a payoff to power, especially given the lack of policy changes or admissions of wrongdoing. Supporters of stronger content moderation may view the outcome as problematic, that platforms are being pressured to open the door for disinformation or incitement, especially from powerful actors. 4. Tech companies' risk environment. The case underscores the legal and reputational risks tech platforms face when dealing with high-profile political figures. Even if courts reject many claims, the cost of litigation and settlement can be substantial. 5. Trump's political capital. The settlement gives Trump a narrative victory, that he was censored, and forced big tech to compensate him. It may reinforce his narrative around free speech and being silenced, which resonates with many of his supporters. 6. Limits on repercussions. While the settlement resolves the legal dispute between YouTube and Trump, it doesn't guarantee future immunity from moderation or consequences if his content violates policies again. The agreement does not force the platform to accept all past or future content. The platform retains its moderation rights. Summary and clarifications. The claim that YouTube pays $36 million is incorrect, according to credible reporting. The settlement is for $24.5 million. YouTube is settling one of several suits Trump filed against major tech platforms after he was suspended in the wake of the January 6 Capitol riot. The settlement gives Trump money and resolves legal claims without YouTube admitting fault or altering its policies. The funds largely go toward a nonprofit trust and a Trump-affiliated White House ballroom project, with smaller amounts to other plaintiffs. While no admission of liability is made, the settlement allows both sides to avoid further costly litigation and to control public narratives. The case raises deeper questions about how private platforms balance moderation, speech, and legal exposure, especially when dealing with powerful political actors. If you like, I can also break down the pros and cons of YouTube's legal position, or simulate what might have happened in court. Would you like?